Lovely. Brilliant. So welcome to today's episode. I'm really excited to have Alex Winstanley on the line today. Alex, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing okay, muddling through, I think. How are you finding it at the moment with second lockdown? And has anything changed for you with the second lockdown?
Not so much for the second lockdown that we've not already adapted to, but we're starting to notice, especially the past week, I would say, that our team are just a little bit going a bit stir crazy. You know what I mean? Like struggling with just having those restrictions, even more restrictions than what they're used to, because they're, as disabled people, they're extremely used to restrictions and in daily life. So they're struggling just a little bit. Just seeing little signs. So just thinking about ways to support our team.
That's great. And that's so important, you know, for everyone as well, because how long has it been now? It's been like 10 months, 9-10 months.
It's been a long
time. I don't know about you, but I still feel like I'm in April. I can't believe like it's Christmas soon. And to be honest, we're probably going to put up our decorations soon.
Yeah.
Because we're just like, this year's mad enough as it is.
It's funny you should say that, because one of the young men on our team, his mum sent me a video the other day, and they've just put the Christmas stuff up already.
Really? He's not the only one. I have seen others on Facebook. I think it's just, the year's mad enough as it is. Let's just start Christmas now.
Yeah, why not? If there's ever going to be a year to just go for it.
Exactly. Let's have an extended Christmas. Instead of an extended lockdown, we'll do that.
Two Christmases would be good.
I know. So we kind of jumped into kind of stuff now, and I think, you know, people listening or watching will be intrigued to kind of hear, you know, you start to touch upon the people that you work with and the people that you help. So do you want to kind of begin by just telling us a bit more about your company, so Happy Smiles, which I'm really excited to hear more about?
Yeah, sure. So we're a profit for purpose training provider. We deliver training that's all led by young disabled adults. That's around social inclusion and awareness around inclusion of disabled people and sort of everybody as well. We deliver training to schools and community groups and businesses and more. And we've been doing that full time for about a year now, just over a year full time, and just some bits before that. And in that time, we've delivered to just over 1,600 people. And been nominated for a couple of national awards as well, which is amazing. But yeah, that was all set up from my experience as a teacher and a carer. So I was a teacher in a part-time care for about the past 8 years. And I left my teaching job last Easter to move to taking things full time. And that's when a few others joined our team. And now we've got a little team that go out and deliver, which is fantastic. And yeah, we've been delivering online as well because of COVID, which again has opened up a lot of opportunities for us. Being able to do things like this really easily has been great. It's got its ups and downs, but really good. So that all came from, again, my experiences. One of the young men I cared for years spent a lot of time in hospital in 2017, and we asked people to send in photos of their happy smiles to keep Hayden cheery and that on his iPad, and he loves looking through pictures on his iPad. So and you'd actually get to meet him today if it weren't for the internet problems, which is a shame. He'd love to meet you. But yeah, so that name really stuck, and we started to do some videos around how Hayden communicates what he likes to do, and from there we did videos of different people, and the reaction was massive online, and started to build a bit of a following on social media. And then started to deliver some trial workshops with community groups and local schools, and it just grew from there to the point where I said, you know, I'm going to leave my teaching job to take everything full time, and it's just kept sort of moving on since. So
wow, God, that sounds incredible. And the fact that you've only been going a year, and like we just said, most of this year has been like crazy. So that, I mean, it's incredible to think about the number of people you've reached. So it's 1,600.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, so like I say, it's really it's really I don't want to use the word special, but it's really important to me. Something I'm really, really passionate about is you know, without sounding patronising, is to some people, hopefully they don't take it in a patronising way, but it's showing what disabled people can do. And I got really sick as someone involved with sort of indirect lived experience of disability and involved around disabled people all the time. just seeing people not reaching their potential. And it was something that I was really passionate about, not just sort of making people, the general community and society aware of how to effectively include disabled people in society, but also, you know, giving disabled people the opportunity to have that platform to express their voice and their experiences. And, you know, so it's that two-way thing of giving people opportunities who are then able to use their experiences to really impact other people.
Yeah, and then that, you know, that full cycle of, you know, the benefits that both sides get then out 100%. Of it.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, that's what I loved about your website, I think, is that it really comes through is this whole, you know, let's focus on what you can do, let's focus on the abilities, and rather than the barriers and the restrictions or whatever, actually focusing on, what you can. As a kind of a side note, I was watching an incredible TED Talk this morning with, what's his name? Martin, my thing has just gone. Bear with me just a sec. I'm going to have a look on here because it was a really good video. Yeah. His name is Martin, and he used to be a professional mountain bike racer. Martin Aston. Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
I'll send you the link and I'll pop it on the show notes for the podcast as well. But he was saying that, so he had a really nasty accident, which meant that he became paralysed from the waist down. And he said that he, as weird as it sounds, he took it as an exciting new opportunity. Yeah. I think there's a lot to learn from it. So he was saying, you know, he just had to adapt what he could do, and he tried all these different sports, and he came because he thought, you know, there's no way that I can ride a mountain bike now. I can't even sit on the seat and, you know, riding a two-wheel bike. But he then actually tried all the different sports, didn't get on with them, but came back to mountain bike racing. And he said basically he just got this like big strap and he sat on the bike and his friends sort of pushed him down a hill. And he said like, then he kind of, you know, had to build up to it, and you make sure that he only went on routes that were kind of downhills. Yeah. But it was just incredible to kind of learn from that, and actually, you know, what all of us can learn from in that, in terms of kind of, you know, overcoming difficult situations, or, you know, actually it's just, you can adapt and kind of tailor what you're doing to just make sure that you can still keep doing everything and focus on what you can do rather than focusing on what you can't.
I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly what we're about as well, Rosie. And you know, a few examples of that just coming to mind. So we always talk about, there's a guy called Wheels, his name's Aaron Fotheringham, and he's the first guy to ever land a front flip and a back flip and double back flip in a wheelchair. And kids love seeing that. So when we talk about that in schools, when we do inclusive sports sessions, things like that, and they love seeing that sort of stuff because it just opens the mind, blows the mind straight away. And he talks a lot about, he said, why wouldn't this be, you know, the fact that I use a wheelchair all the time, I've just got wheels attached to me, that mean I can do loads of cool things, so why is that not cool? So it's a really refreshing way of seeing things. So, you know, it is really good. And I think, you know, talking about TED Talks, we've been really lucky, actually. I'll have to check that one out, because during COVID and the lockdowns and things, we've managed to speak to people around the world. We've literally watched tons of TED Talks and got in touch with loads of people, and so many people got back to us and given us the time, and, you know, in New Zealand, South Africa, and America, all sorts of places, which is really cool. So and it just helps us to gain that deeper understanding of sort of you know, the experiences of disabled people around the world as well. So it's really beneficial.
Brilliant. And different ages as well. And actually, you know, as we're talking, you know, obviously in the media, and we're in the middle of a lockdown and a global pandemic, the media is kind of portraying it, you know, it is a negative thing. No one wants to be in this situation. But actually, I think more and more there are stories coming out, like you're saying, about, you know, the opportunities right now. So if we consider COVID, and the opportunities that are coming out of it in terms of connecting with people around the world that, you know, you never would have done.
Exactly.
And so it's actually that, you know, that's another way of looking at, we're breaking down barriers by being able to do this kind of thing. And I had a session yesterday, like a mentoring session, and the mentor was chatting with someone in the Caribbean before me and someone in South Africa after me. Amazing, and he's like, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Leave your house.
You know, it's been amazing to be able to do that. And, you know, you can either see it as a real negative, which it is, you know, it's not great. And my wife works in a hospital for the NHS, and I know it's been really tough at times, and she's seeing the things that she's seen, but at the same time, you know, if you really focus on the negatives, then it's not gonna go anywhere. Whereas it's great to see, you know, people have set up businesses during COVID to help people that have, you know, made massive differences. So yeah, it's really good that people are, you know, trying to flip it and see the positive side as much as possible, because I know it certainly helps us. You know, there's so much more we want to do. You know, we're not able to get in schools at the moment, which we really want to be doing. We've got some virtual sessions coming up in schools, but we really want to be in there, and, you know, with the students, especially in those sorts of environments. And we can't at the moment, but there's still something we can do. So yeah, it's just, I guess we always come back to that. What can we do?
Yeah. Again, as an organisation, you know, instead of focusing on the barriers, it's what can you do and still fulfil your mission. I loved what you said at the beginning. Did you say you're what was it? A profit for purpose?
Profit for purpose. Yeah.
Profit for purpose. See, that's a brilliant term. Rather than because so my company, Musica, is a CIC.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not for profit. But actually, I love the profit for purpose, because, you know, we're all CICs, social enterprises. We're all very mission driven, 100%. And I think that's where we can be quite adaptive, because as long as you're still focused on your mission, how you get there, I'm going to say it doesn't matter. It does matter, but you can be a bit more adaptive as long as you're focusing on that kind of end mission.
Definitely, you know, you're as Simon Sinek says, doesn't he? You know, in his TED Talk, and he talks about the why, and that goes. But he says that your why doesn't need to change, and in the COVID's a perfect example. Is the why might not change. What you actually do and how you deliver it might change, but your why and your reason for getting out of bed and doing what you do, or for leaving your job or whatever, to leaving your proper job, as people are saying, to do this is,
and that, you know, that just stays the same. And I think that's the thing that really drew me to your company. So obviously there's something even more exciting that's entangled with this. So I want to kind of unpick it a little bit, is around your own experience of dementia. And so obviously we're going to talk about your book that you've got coming out. And I just kind of, just want to know your own experience, how this kind of an idea for a book about dementia came out.
Yeah. So again, just lived experience. But my grandma, so she's my mum's mum, and I grew up with my grandma. I got, you know, going to her house all the time, school holidays with my sister, things like that I'm sure many people experience and remember. And obviously those memories are really close to my heart. And my grandma got diagnosed with mixed dementia about 10 years ago, just over, I think. And we always knew before then that, you know, she was forgetting a lot, but it became more and more frequent. And since then, there's been a lot of ups and downs in terms of hospital visits, falls, infections, you know, those sort of things that lead to hospital stays. And eventually it got to the point where my mum was going there, you know, 2-3 times a day to my grandma's house. And it was just too much. And I think one thing that probably we might come on to in a bit maybe is just that people don't always see the impact on the family around dementia. And this is something that was really important to me when doing the book, was that people see the impacts of the individual and how people forget and things like that, but not always the impacts on the family, especially the primary care. And my mum was giving up her life. Her life was on hold, and it has been for sort of the past 30 years really, but more so in the past 10. We were seeing that, and my grandma ended up moving in with us for a while. Again, it became a lot, because I think I said before, but I'm a carer, so is my mum, and aside from my grandma, and, you know, doing a lot of those different things as well as caring for my grandma became a lot. I was very, very adamant she was never going in a care home. I was very scared of it, because you see the media and the portrayal, and don't get me wrong, there's good and bad care homes and all, but eventually we took the really difficult decision a couple of years ago now, which feels like yesterday. And it's something that I think my mum still is coming to terms with, but my grandma now lives in a care home just near our house, and it's wonderful. Can I give him a shout website? Is
Yes,
that
of
okay?
course. Yeah,
I can say
please
the name, can't I?
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we're not like the
yeah.
BBC.
No, I just wanted to make sure I could say the name, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, Windsor House Care Home, yeah, in Standish,
Yeah.
outstanding. So just in the way my grandma, we always thought, she had this routine, and she would, for example, get up and make food, watch TV, watch the breakfast shows and whatever. And that was a routine. But when you think about it, it was a really lonely experience. And now, actually being in that care home, she's actually flourished. And whilst we've not been able to see her for the past sort of 8 months, however long it is, we're just really grateful that they're keeping her safe, and they're definitely keeping her entertained, because they keep putting pictures on social media. It's really helpful. They put some pictures on, for example, the other day at the weekend, and she had 2 glasses of sherry or something in her hand. You just think she's having a good time, and
Yeah.
honestly, we cannot believe the difference it's made. So I really wanted to not only highlight the impact of dementia on the individual and families and carers, but also the fact that there are, for children, care homes aren't always a scary place, and they can be a really positive place too.
Yeah, and actually that's the thing that I loved. I'm really lucky that I got to have a sneak peek, so thank you for sharing your book with me, because I think what really shined through was the whole thing about breaking down the stigma of dementia, but also breaking down the stigma of a care home. And actually, as I was reading it, I was thinking, yes, it's aimed at children, but this is for everybody, because I don't know whether you still find this, but a lot of the time, if I talk to friends or relatives about my work, if they haven't experienced a care home themselves, they still have this very bleak, kind of stigmatized view in their mind. Whereas I keep saying, so many of them are really homely. They've got like some of them have got like a coffee shop in there, and like a cinema room, and they're not the places that people think.
No, there's a lovely one that's not too far away from here as well, that I think my mum and my grandma looked at as well. And I know that I've been past there a few times. They have like, post office, and they have like shop. They have like loads of different, like a little village. It's a really cool idea. But yeah, even at Windsor House, they do loads of activities, and they'll sort of dress up the home and things like that, and they'll just make things interactive, and I think that's massive for the residents as well. It is really positive. And I remember the first time I walked in to this care home, England were in the World Cup and doing pretty well, and yeah, I was walking in, and I was just expecting to maybe see my grandma maybe in a room on her own or something, just like she would usually be. She was sat in the middle of all these residents with like the Union Jack stuff everywhere, flags. And I'm thinking, you've never watched football, and they're sat watching football, cheering. And I thought, that was from day one, and it really stuck with me, that. So yeah.
Wow. And that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be like around my PhD research. I often talk about, it doesn't have to be the physical environment that needs to change. It's actually that sense of community. And that's a brilliant one of showing that she was connected with the other people in the home.
Exactly.
And they had this kind of shared experience. Whether or not they like football, that's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? They were all together enjoying it.
Exactly. It's really, really important. And from there, the people that come in and out of were people that would come in and out of the home, and some that would stay for a long time. And one of the other women who was staying there got to know my grandma, and turns out she had an old magazine from the Heinz factory that's in Wigan. There's a really big Heinz factory here, and my grandma and my granddad worked there, and they're looking through it, and it turns out that this woman who's in the home now worked with my granddad, and she had this video of my grandma and my granddad on there and stuff like that, and brought into the home, just things like that. And those sort of links, especially for people with dementia, huge.
And bringing back reminiscence, and then for them to connect, years, like decades later.
It's pretty cool.
That's really cool. So tell me a bit more about your book, and kind of that, like the whole thing, the crowdfunding campaign, how you're going to be taking it off the ground.
I'll try not to forget anything, but I'll try not to talk for too long, because I'm pretty bad at that. I blame my mum.
That's fine. I'm the same, so this could go on for hours.
It's a good job we like what we're talking about then. So I've always wanted to write a children's book around my grandma's experiences. It's something that I've always thought, you know what, obviously with our organisation as well, everything we do is about raising awareness and trying to educate people, especially children and young people, and just changing perceptions and stigmas. So this is something that I wanted to do with my grandma, and she always says, it's a favourite saying, she always says, "Oh, I'm befuddled." And I thought,
yeah, I saw that.
book. Yeah, I'm going to write this book.
That's a great word.
Yeah, isn't it? So I thought, you know what? Kids might never hear that word or understand what that means, and if I'm going to write this book called "I'm Befuddled," and that's not the title of the book, but I did want to include it somehow, so I got it in there. But yeah, probably about a year ago, to be honest, I came across an amazing book series called "The Abilities in Me," and I got in touch with the author Gemma Keir, and I just reached out and said, look, I think your book's amazing. In terms, so what Gemma writes is about different conditions in children, and that was inspired by her son, who has 22q syndrome, and it's not very well known. And she wanted to teach his class about it, and wrote this book. And then it snowballed, and she's written, I think, well over 10 since. In the past sort of year and a half. I think she's well over 10. I've got them stacked up over here, and they're amazing. So I got in touch and just said, look, if I was ever going to write a book, it would be this. I think they're fantastic the way you write it. And she was absolutely wonderful and gave me time, just like you are, Rosie, today, I suppose. But just had that time for me, and we spoke about a lot of stuff, and we stayed in touch. And then I'd written this. I just thought, well, I'm going to have a go at writing this book, and got in touch and said, I've written this about my grandma. And she said, why don't you jump on what the Abilities does, and we'll do a bit of a partnership, and you can do like a spin-off series, but maybe about older people and adults with different conditions and things like that. So I said, yeah, brilliant. So we've been working together since, in terms of promoting the book, and got the same illustrator, so there's that wonderful crossover, and there's going to be different characters crossing over from the books, which we're really excited about. And it also gives, obviously, children and young people who read Gemma's books the opportunity to see different conditions in adults and have that understanding. So that's really, really exciting. And I think, like I said earlier, people, I think that some of the statistics, like someone develops dementia globally every few seconds, families are going to be impacted by it, and if you're not, you're probably going to know someone who is. I think it's really, really important to talk about.
Yeah, and especially for children as well, because I think everyone has this kind of view that dementia is an older person thing. People in kind of 80s, 90s, that it's a common thing for kind of most older people get it, and actually that's not true. But also it can be any age now. You might have someone in their 40s who has dementia, and so I think for children to understand it, that's going to be a great way to kind of start reducing this stigma, which is it's going away, but it is still there.
Yeah, definitely. I really wanted to try and get that into the book, and there was a few lines that got changed so many times because I was desperate to keep in the fact that the dementia doesn't just happen to older people, and I really wanted the book to represent a lot of different people, young people who might have young onset dementia. I didn't want someone picking up the book, or the book's called My Grandma Has Dementia. I wouldn't want someone to pick up a book and go, well, I'm not a grandma, or I'm not, or anything like that. And I really want people to connect with it, and hopefully the book represents different people. I know definitely some of the ideas with the illustrations will help with that, and especially for children with the illustrations, I think they'll be really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just brilliant. I think, like I was saying, it will be applicable to all different types of people. So like you're saying, although you said my grandma has dementia, but actually I think people will very easily see that it's applicable to my friend. If you're an adult, my friend has dementia, and not being able to kind of quite understand it, and actually just breaking that taboo and getting people to talk about it as well. Yeah, which is great.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with the word taboo. Dementia, long-term health conditions can be a taboo subject. Disability can definitely be a long-term subject, a taboo subject for people. as we've experienced, definitely, and hopefully it'll help. And the aim is that, you know, it's going to develop this series. I've already got a couple of others written about Crohn's, about MS, different conditions, and the idea is that it'll be, you know, different. So my mum has MS, for example, and hopefully children, young people, or anyone reading it can interchange those. The person, because it can, like you say, it might be my mum has, or they could think, well, my dad has, or my brother or my friend has, etc. So that's the idea, is that the series will include lots of different characters from different sort of family and friend relationships, and hopefully represent as many people as possible.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be relatable, you know, in so many circumstances, which is great. So the crowdfunder as well then. So this kind of, obviously you're raising money to launch the book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it. So we had some funding that hopefully it'll be coming through soon from our local council, which was basically because we couldn't use what we'd originally got the funding for, because we can't be getting into schools, and this was our way of adapting a little bit as well. So that helped. The crowdfunding on top of that is, I really like the we've done quite a few different crowdfunding campaigns, and I really like the idea of how they work, because not only do they give people the opportunity to support your cause if they believe in it, but it builds a community and it builds engagement. For example, when the first lockdown started, our organisation our team, we started sending out, we did a project called Rachel's Rainbows, which is named after my wife, she started taking some rainbow badges into work, and they were an absolute hit. And we started sending them out to different NHS workers and key workers. And we ended up sending out just over 850 badges just across the UK, which kept us busy for a while. And but that helped to build a lot of engagement for the work that we do as well, and gave us the opportunity to speak to people in the NHS and care workers and things like that, and which was really, really beneficial. So yeah, I think crowdfunding is a great initiative, because it allows people to donate, but often get something in return. So, and people can choose. So, you know, some people might choose just to donate, but some people, for example, with our rewards, if you donate £10, you get a book sent to yourself, including delivery. If you donate £20, you can get one sent to yourself, but you can also get one sent to a worthy cause or a school of your choice. So we want, you know, that's really helpful. Loads of people have been selecting that pledge, that reward, because if someone's passionate about it, you know, they want to involve other people and they want to spread the word, and that's really, really helpful. And
then that can only help your cause, because if other people are reading the book, they're hearing about it, you know, they're then going to spread word of mouth. It's that great kind of organic way of growing.
Of course, exactly. So yeah, it's been brilliant. We've got, I think, 28 or 29 days left, which means we're nearly at the halfway point of the campaign.
Wow.
We set a target originally of £1,000 for it, and hit that, which is brilliant. So I'm just over 1,300 at the minute. So our stretch target was sort of 1,500, and that'll hopefully give us a bit of leeway to be able to donate some books to different causes, local causes, and places, and especially care homes, things like that. That's our plan. So we've got a few projects as well off the back of it as well. Like, for example, one of the pledges on there is that if someone donates £50, you can actually get our team to do a book reading session with a school or a community group. Especially with everything going on, we find that could be really, really beneficial for children and young people, being able to connect with different people. So they do the reading with a group, and then do some educational activities afterwards as well. So that's just an example of a project that we'll be doing afterwards, because the idea is that this book and other future books will form part of our offer in schools, where we'll be going in and reading those books, and obviously not only then are the children and young people learning about a certain condition, but they're learning about it from people with lived experience with disability they might never have that opportunity to interact with and learn from. And it's really, really important. So we're really looking forward to that.
Wow. God, sorry, I'm like just a bit stunned at the moment, I think, because in my mind I'm just seeing that whole circle where it's just benefiting so many people. So, because I must admit, when you contacted me, I was like, okay, so you've got this book on dementia, but your company isn't anything to do with dementia. And I think in my head I was trying to link up the two, and it's kind of it's really just clicked, is that you've got this whole cycle. So like a not-for-profit type thing where, you know, the money you make gets reinvested and it benefits the people. Likewise with your training and your learning and having the book, you know, if it's then being delivered by the guys in your company who are then teaching it to children, that's then empowering the people that you work with, but they're also helping the children, and it goes full circle.
That's exactly right, honestly. that's I couldn't put it better myself, but and there's something really excited about. And also, you know, we also want to do some intergenerational reading projects with so not only our team reading the book to children and young people in schools, but actually our team training those children and young people up to then be able to go and read the book in care homes. So
brilliant.
That's like the knock-on effect. So it would allow those, and that can be done online as well, which is great. And obviously with my grandma's care home, I've seen the amount of stuff that can be done online, which is really helpful.
And especially at the moment, you know, it was on the news earlier about saying that children, because of kind of lockdown and with COVID and everything, some children have kind of gone back in terms of kind of reading ability and confidence for reading if they haven't had opportunities for that at home.
Yeah.
And likewise, you've got, you know, residents in care homes that are really isolated right now, and kind of you're facing social isolation and everything that comes with that.
Yeah.
And so if you can then be putting the two together, you know, be helping the children by reading, they're then, you know, improving their confidence in reading to people, but you're also benefiting the residents living in care homes because they're getting that interaction.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a multitude of benefits, and we're hoping that we can find a way of funding that project so that we can allow that to be sustainable, so that can continue, because this project idea is something that can be done, you know, nationwide. There's no reason why, especially with the way that we can do this online now, is, you know, we could support a school down south somewhere. Do you know what I mean? To do something like that. So the sort of potential with it is absolutely limitless, and it's something we're really excited about. But we just need a little bit of support to start with, really, to get that going. So that's our next sort of step with that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, you know, that you must find sort of being the CIC model really helps with that, because we're a CIC, and it's often just that, you know, like every company, we all want to be sustainable, and you want your trading income to be able to pay for your core costs. But sometimes you just need that little bit of an income boost so that you can get this up and running to make it sustainable. Yeah. And being a CIC is a great, you know, it's a great model for kind of generating that fund.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you can find, I guess, as you'll know, but you can find a lot of roadblocks in terms of if you maybe not a charity, but if you just have charitable purposes, but at the same time, you know, this sort of model would allow us to be sustainable. We just probably need that boost to start with. But we've already had, for example, Community Integrated Care, or a national social care company, have bought 25 of the books to do a project at 25 of their care homes.
Brilliant.
So that's brilliant to start with.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. So
that's great. And then it's just that whole thing of word of mouth, and, you know, obviously at the end of this we'll put a link to your site as well, and we'll be promoting the book as well. But it's just about that kind of relationship, isn't it? And just, you know, getting kind of people to spread the word, and once you've read your book and shout about it, and then more people will come on board. That's brilliant.
I think obviously the more people can spread the word, the better. Like I said, I think when people are passionate about it, we've had some great support from people who are just obviously, and maybe had family members in that same situation as my grandma, or have just experienced things themselves, or might be carers, etc. And we've had brilliant support. We've had books. It's a good job we did it, but I put a option for like overseas, outside of the UK, donations, so that, you know, to cover postage and things like that, because we've had people donating from Australia and America and New Zealand and all sorts of places, which is really exciting. So
that's incredible. You're an international company with a
so
God, amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it to music, if you're happy with that, because I can't have these discussions without talking about music.
Yeah.
But
Well,
have you seen any impact in terms of music in dementia care? Or
yeah. I don't want to talk too much about as an expert in that sense of music in dementia.
Yeah, it's more your own experience.
I mean, in terms of stats and things like that, but I just know that, and I've just from things that I've read, that music and dementia, the way that music can support residents and people with dementia in care homes especially, is massive. So I was just laughing the other day. Actually, my mum was showing me a video of. I said, "What is that noise?" And it was a lot of people in my grandma's care home singing.
Oh, brilliant!
They just love it, and so they'll get singers in and stuff like that, or they'll do different bits of activities that involve music and singing, especially those old types, so like war related songs, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with obviously everything that's going on, especially for tomorrow, which is really, really important. And the impact that it has is massive. I think it just, I know personally for me anyway, you put some music on, it's really, it can be really relaxing, can't it?
Yeah, that's what I find. Or if you just need to wake up in the morning, and need some kind of motivational music.
Yeah, no,
Brilliant.
I'm a big music. I used to be in a band, believe it or not, as well. I love music, playing instruments. Growing up playing instruments, so I'm big, passionate.
Oh, brilliant! And obviously, you're in like brass band land as well. Fab. So, well, that kind of leads me on to like the final point. Obviously, we'll get like links and everything to your site right at the end. But the final point that I wanted to ask is that if you'd like to share a song that's particularly meaningful to you and the reason behind it.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. I could definitely think of an artist, and trying to think of one was hard. So I'll go with one. I might have to give a special mention to another if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So just a special mention is there's one that everyone probably know, but it's Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. And The Verve are from Wigan, where I'm from, and obviously I'm really passionate Wiganer. I'm really passionate. I love The Verve. They're one of my favourite ever bands.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that as well, they some of the lyrics that I love are Richard Ashcroft sings, "You're a slave to money, then you die," and it's something that's really stuck with me in terms of setting up a social enterprise as well, because it's not about chasing the money, it's about chasing purpose and having a meaning to what you're doing, and I think that's really important for people. My favourite, should I say, Lucky Man by The Verve is my favourite ever song, so I'm going to go with that.
A nice like Wigan touch. I didn't know they were from Wigan.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. Brilliant. That's a great choice. So just before you go, how can people find out more about your company, find out more about your book? Show the links, and I'll put them in the show notes too. Yeah,
sure. So our organisation is called Happy Smiles. So if you Google it, you'll find Happy Smiles Blog CIC. So if you can find our website, it's www.happysmilesblog.co.uk. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Happy Smiles Blog. And recently TikTok as well. One of our team, Ellie, is an absolute genius with TikTok. So she's teaching me everything about how to do that. So we just started on there too, which is fun.
Wow.
Find us on our social media there and our website. And the book, if you go to crowdfunder.co.uk/My Grandma Has Dementia book.
Yeah. Brilliant, and we can donate there. And you've got another 28 days. So when does that expire?
That'll expire. I think the expiry date is early December.
Cool.
Just thinking, my maths is pretty bad on the spot too.
It gives us a rough idea. Sometime in December. Early December. And you've already met your target. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, so
let's hope you get to the stretch target. You've only got £200 more to go.
That's it, yeah. So hopefully, because we're managing to hopefully cover the production cost now, which I never knew the costs involved in making a book. But
I didn't.
It's not super cheap.
Really?
So we've managed to cover that, which is brilliant, and pretty much covered it. So it just obviously, as a profit for purpose organisation is really helpful, and then we're hoping that the proceeds, obviously, that come in from there can go to donating books, and then in the future, this will allow us to cover the cost for our next book, and so on and so forth, so that we can keep producing this series of different books around different conditions that hopefully mean a lot to people, like this does to me. Hopefully reach, you know, a lot of people, and really, you know, stick in people's minds and get on people's level emotionally. We really want to connect with people that way, and show that, you know, especially with everything that's gone on this year, you know, your community is not just even, you know, your local community or your people in your street or anything that you can't see, but you can build a worldwide community. And there's people, you know, in our situation, my situation with my grandma, you know, in Australia and New Zealand, for example, on the other side of the world. So we want to just try and connect with as many people as possible through the books, make people's lives better, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what better way to finish. I think that just sums up kind of your whole purpose, and it's been fantastic chatting with you. So thanks so much for coming on, Alex. Take care.
Cheers.